This story begins for each person in the moment when they are born onto this planet. In this dance of time and energy that we call life, everybody has their own destiny. And in order to understand it, one should ask the sages of the past who saw the truth and passed it on through the Bhagavad Gita, the Old Testament, the Bible and the Quran. Ask them from the bottom of your heart, what was I born for? What am I living for? And what will become of me after death? And set off on your journey, of which everyone has their own.
Oh my lord, I'm in Himalayas. One day, Sanchez called me and told me that he has a project to work on, and though it wouldn't be easy, I should not be quick to refuse it. It was a filming journey in which I would have to shoot the material for the documentary. How exactly everything would happen was still not clear.
Sasha, for sure, it will be a hard journey, far away, very unusual, even rather uncomfortable. But these conditions will help the cause because the film is about overcoming. Do you know where we're going?
There are probably such moments that have happened to everyone, when you're ready to say yes for a long time, only the invitation was missing. Yes, I'm coming.
Hey, don't you want to listen first?
Whatever came next, it would be only the details. I already knew that I would go. I was invited as a documentary cameraman in Nepal to join the group on an 11-day walking road known as the Annapurna Circuit. It was a 120 kilometers hiking road around the mountain range of Annapurna, one of the biggest mountains in the world. More than anything, I love to travel and shoot, which is why I couldn't miss this opportunity, even given that in spite of my yes, there were lots of arguments against it. But I felt that I needed it, and my inner voice had never let me down before. I was going there very inspired. First of all, Nepal was awaiting me, which is a dream for any traveler. Secondly, I had the chance to spend 2 weeks with some very successful business people. Successful in real sense, unlike me with my video studio. Only my annual tax return report reminds me that I'm a businessman. That's why the prospect of spending time with those who had really accomplished something in this sphere was very attractive to me. In addition to that, the initiator of the whole trip, according to the stories, was a very interesting man. It was Vladimir Faizulin. Sanchez, to whom the idea of the film belongs, asked me, besides shooting the traveling material, to shoot some interviews with him. He said that it would be interesting and helpful not only for our audience, but also for me. After 2 flights and 10 hours of waiting, finally, I touched down in Nepal, Kathmandu. Those who at some point have been to Asia can confirm that it's a different world, totally different planet. After landing, buying a 30-day visa and getting through the customs with some surprises, I met Sasha, our guide. While Sasha thought of one taxi driver, bargained with the second one, was referred to a third one, I was staring around, marveling in everything that I saw around me and observing the atmosphere of Nepal. Our hotel was on the other side of the city. After check-in and dealing with some problems, it was the time for the group introductory meeting to get acquainted and discuss the future travel. Basically, the journey to Nepal and indeed into the mountains, which I describe in Vedas and considered as a place of power, is a serious factor in people's selection for this trip. To be honest, I didn't know who I would meet during the journey, but I was sure they wouldn't be simple guys. And I was right. Instead of true hikers, or vegans, or newly born Russian sadhu, it was a group of guys of variety of ages, amongst whom were businessmen, investors, different kinds of specialists, self-employed people, and each of them had chosen Nepal for specific reasons. There were 8 of us, very different and for the most part not known to one another, and each of us had his own story as to why he was here. The main thing was to plan the upcoming trip. In short, it's very simple. The Annapurna Ridge is located 180 kilometers by mountain roads from Kathmandu. Annapurna is the detached part of the Himalayan mountain range, and it consists of peaks from 7 to 8,000 meters. The highest peak of them all is the Annapurna 1, 8,091 meters, which makes it one of the highest peaks in the world. What's more, the Annapurna peaks themselves are considered to be one of the most dangerous mountaineering roads in the world. According to statistics, every third climber dies here. The locals say that not everyone will be able to climb these sacred peaks. However, to climb the peak you must have not only good attitude and motivation, but also mountaineering training, which we didn't have. That's why we were not planning to go there. We planned to make a circle road around the entire array. In any case, we expected to climb with the maximum point of 5,400 meters in the Tongla Pass. The whole trip is about 200 kilometers. And we were particularly interested in the most spectacular, but at the same time the hardest 120-kilometer part of the road. Now everything with regards to the trip was clear, but in practice it turned to be much more difficult.
Старт планируется у нас завтра. После получения багажа нашего, как говорит стартбок, получим завтра багаж. Не даст, без него поедем.
They promised us an overcoming, and so apparently it started at the very beginning. For example, I had problems at the airport importing my quadricopter into the country. Eventually, after paying an $85 duty, they allowed it to enter, but that didn't give me the right to use it. Later, we figured out that a couple of our guys did not receive their luggage with all equipment in it, which is more important than my problem. 2 of them received their luggage the next day, and 2 others didn't receive it till the end of the trip. We didn't have many choices, so before starting our trip we went to the market to buy stuff, 2 full bags of equipment. Luckily, every second shop here sells mountaineering equipment, which made our mission possible to complete. Yes, on the one hand it's unexpected expenses, but on the other it's a chance to buy good quality replicas of the famous brands at a very cheap price. They're making them in the basements of the shops.
Это мембрана. Из нее прямо здесь шьют пуховики и продают.
Официальная фабрика North Face.
Now in magazine.
How much this one?
3,500.
3,500? 3,500. 2000 рублей.
Сань,
Что?
спальник отдает за 2500.
2500 переведи на русские. Это получается 1600. За 1600 рублей ты такой спальник в России, вообще нигде не купишь.
Тем более это
Я у
абсолютно
тебя
handmade.
Если тебе не нужно, я после похода у тебя его куплю. Я тебе серьезно говорю. Это называется продажа. Я продал ему спальник вот этого парня.
Without deviating from the schedule, we started our trip.
Пора в путь дорогу, дорогу дальнюю
Чего не хватает, если снаряги у тебя?
Сала нет.
Сало у меня есть. Мусульманам нельзя, поэтому я все равно.
Мы же йоги без сала не ходим в город.
Sasha, our guide, hired for us 2 porters to carry our stuff on the road. Tourists mistakenly call them Sherpas in honor of nationality, who live in the Himalayas and are famous for carrying very heavy bags through the mountains, in spite of their small size and lack of muscle mass.
Это наши ребята? Это Шерпы? Какие-то они хиленькие.
Блин, все так про них говорят.
Они все не крупные.
Our porters were neither Sherpas nor physically fit, but the main advantage of them was the ability to speak English. It was a big advantage.
Ну, в смысле, сейчас.
We were going to the northwest, in the direction of the Himalayas, to be precise to the Annapurna range. In front of us were 180 kilometers. The wild Kathmandu in the window changed by the mountain serpentines, and only incoming cars and motorbikes distracted us from the beauty of the mountains. By the way, such a car trip can tell you a lot about the place where you're in now. We had to spend the whole day on the road and maybe the half of the next day too. However, we were not in a rush. We had a plan, we went according to that plan, and all that was left to do was to chat, listen to interesting stories, and glance around, where with each passing hour the foothills of the Himalayas grew bigger and bigger. The local colors, in a literal sense the brightness and diversity of everything, attracted and hypnotized you. When the idea to go to Nepal just appeared, I didn't have a clue who Faizulin was. Would it be comfortable for me to go with him for 2 weeks on the trip? Before the journey, he had a lecture, which he held from time to time to share his knowledge in business, in family, and in general life. I decided to go. When it came to building a relationship within the family, it appeared that Faizulin has 9 kids, a wife, and that they're together their whole life. It's rare these days. In Nepal, driving down the winding mountain roads in the bus, we finally understood what to expect from this trip. An obvious question remained: how, with such a big family, such large responsibility, did he manage to get away for 2 weeks on this very dangerous trip, and his wife let him go? For example, I had a long emotional conversation with my girlfriend about me going away and that she is not coming with me. When we were shooting another interview blog with Vladimir Mikhailovich, I decided to ask him about it.
The posing of the question itself, when somebody has to let the man go somewhere, doesn't sit comfortably with me. Man can ask for permission only from God. I mean to say that there isn't any institution which can forbid a man to do something. Neither mother, nor wife, nor sister, nor father can do it. In the moment when a boy becomes a man, he bears accountability only to God. That's why, from my point of view, this is not a correctly built relationship. When does a man get this rank? When he bears the responsibility for somebody, for himself, his wife, his kids, his motherland, and even more global things. He becomes a man. After getting this rank, no one can let or not let him do something. There isn't such a choice. You can do that to a boy, to a teenager it's possible, but already not desirable, and definitely not to a man. Woman means safety. The basic function of the woman is to care for herself and offspring. It's the basic function. She always wants to keep her man in a safe place. You should understand it and treat it with love and respect. Let's say if a man is going to war, From any woman's point of view, he's an idiot. And for the simple reason that if he is killed, who will take care of her and the kids? The idiot doesn't get it. What if everybody will stay at home and wouldn't go to defend the homeland? It will be like in that song. What will be left of Russia and Moscow? That's why you must be ready to make a decision, to go to the mountains or to go to war and just let people know about it. Why? Because you decided so. That's it. But you don't have to do it rudely. Don't underestimate it, the anxiety, the care of a woman for you. She's doing it out of love for you. You have to understand it, accept it, calm her down and tell her what will happen to me. You're waiting for me. The kids are waiting for me. I'll fight. I'll get out. I'll come back anyway. She'll see that he'll definitely be okay and she will calm down. From time to time she'll be worried, but only slightly, because she has confidence in you. And then she'd like to help you. She'll pray. It's a strong power. There are some famous stories from the war when soldiers are running, bang, 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 and all of them are dead, and only one's alive. How does it happen? Somebody prayed for him, wife or mother or kids or all together, and at that moment somebody's hand trembled on the trigger and the bullet passed close by. It's a serious thing, the support of a woman. It's a big deal. When you explain to your wife that I don't need your tears, I need your support, and once she really understands this, then you'll have a strong power to overcome any problem. It's a harmonious thing when you understand how to interact with one another. But all of this can only be realized if you act like a man in daily life situations. If you've been to the mountains, the confidence comes out from you. You come back every time, and you'll come back this time too. But you can't calm her down just with words. It must come from your inner feeling of confidence, which you could get from a trip like this, for example. And one more thing. When a woman succeeds in pulling a man to her safe place, deep down she ceases to respect him, in my point of view. Stays home, didn't go to war, he's alive, but better he went. She understood that he's a coward a bit. He can't be relied upon, so she has doubts now. She's afraid if one woman can convince him, then another could too. But if she sees that nothing works on him, she'll be relieved. He has his own mind. What is another woman for him? He doesn't listen to his mother, to me. To whom will he listen? It means nobody will take him away.
It was already dark when we arrived in the village of Besisahar.
So, how was the road?
Here we had to eat dinner, sleep, and the next morning start our last short car trip to the beginning of the Annapurna Nature Reserve. Besisahar is the last fairly well-populated point before the beginning of the road, which has a direct connection with the capital. Here you finally begin to feel that you're in the highest country in the world, 85% of which is the Himalayas.
Надпись на машине Buddha was born in Nepal.
We knew that the higher up in the mountains, the more expensive everything would be. It was our last chance to buy provisions at normal prices. The choice wasn't great, but they had all the essential items.
Чай.
Vegetarian написано.
Да, прикольно, без мяса.
According to the plan, the remaining part of the trip we had to do in 2 jeeps. But they didn't come. We had to use the regular bus full of locals. It's Nepal. I think you have to take every chance offered to you to experience the lifestyle of the local people in the places you're traveling, and local schedule bus was a great help in this. In an hour, we were at the starting point of our trip, the village of Phulphule. You have to forget everything that came before, because right now is when the real journey begins. In a couple of days it will be hard to believe, but right now, only just entering the reserve, we're going through the tropics, and on the path there are many villages, the inhabitants of which cultivate the land and live of it. And now, whilst it's new to us, it's just fascinating. The locals are very open and sincere people. On the faces of the older generation, it's easy to read their whole life. From generation to generation they lead this lifestyle, which like a precious treasure, like ancient knowledge, is passed on from father to son. And the probability is very high that in 10 or more years these running children will sit as a wise old man on these same steps, watching their own grandkids and great-grandkids running and playing. If of course tourism and everything that comes with it won't destroy this emerging hundreds of years of magic.
Мы сейчас проходим поселок Лампата на высоте 1,40 километров.
We were going in the company of some beautiful views. Every day my brain became more clear and my muscle problems all of a sudden started to look very easy to resolve. By the end, this sense of ease became so strong that I decided to discuss it with Vladimir Mikhailovich. And suddenly it turned out that for him, travel is a proven and trouble-free business tool that he is using even right now.
If a person has some financial problems, for example, and this problem is spinning around in his head like a wound-up record, do-de-do-de-do-de-do-de-do, they call it a vicious circle. To break it, to find a new solution to your problems, financial also, you have to do something unexpected. This unexpected tool is travel. You'll find yourself in a completely unfamiliar atmosphere. The brain starts to work efficiently in a different way, and you'll leave the vicious circle. And you can solve problems which will turn out to bring you more money, or you'll find a new business idea. For example, I've used it lots, and after each trip, then I was able to resolve some of my problems.
I think that everyone who traveled somewhere at least once can understand how the simple change of the everyday picture and fresh air can change your perception of the world. Equally, as many would agree with me, how quickly everything returns to its place as soon as you return home. And how to make it so that the effect of each trip will last longer and the strength received will be enough to ignite some kind of a change in your life. Everybody understands the difference between spending money and investing money. Further conversation was specifically about this. Are you looking at this trip as an investment?
For example, you say, I want to earn money. I say to you, one of the ways to do this is to travel. Your first reaction will be, how could it be possible? It's a waste of money. Well, yes. Business is always about spending money at the beginning. Either a waste of money or time, or both, is unavoidable. Another thing is whether the money will return. I'm proposing to prove it. So far, according to my experience and the experience of people I know, you can talk to someone else, is it about wasting money or earning money? At the time when you're buying the tickets or something else, it's spending money. This is a visible result. And then, what next? What will happen in the month after the trip, or in half a year? Will your income increase or decrease? From my point of view, it's definitely an increase. Okay, now my wound-up record tells me that traveling is about a lot of money. Maybe there are some cheaper options, like a tent in the forest. But most people say that travel means something about bigger expenses. So how can I travel if I don't have money? To do something, you have to have courage. You have to save some amount of money and analyze. Well, because I'm a businessman, I know that before you receive something, you have to invest. In this case, it's better to count it as an investment. Count how much you can invest. How much money can you invest? For example, you invest 10,000 or 15,000 or 30,000 rubles. That's $200, $300, $400. What will happen afterwards? Maybe everything I'm saying is bullshit. And you spent 15,000 rubles and didn't get anything. Except that, or maybe this 15,000 will unexpectedly return 150,000 rubles, or 1.5 million rubles. That's $200 may return $2,000 or $20,000. But you can't prove it until you try. Do you have any more questions?
The idea that travel can convert itself into money caused me more questions than faith. But one thing add faith, here is a technique. Don't believe a single word further, just go and check it by practice. It sounded convincing. My brain wanted to understand the tools that convert travel into money, but it couldn't. At least how does it work stage by stage? Not clear at all. Only one option was left, return back to Moscow and try it, but in a couple of weeks. For now, we're still in Nepal.
Our aim for today is the village of Bahundanda,
at the height of 1,310 meters above the sea, with a climb in excess of 500 meters. The road was slowly rising higher, and we left the humid tropics and entered the subtropics, changing the whole natural surrounding area in half a day. However, many of us didn't notice it because 500 meters up took more attention and power. Today we stayed in a house at the top of the mountain with a truly amazing view. I can't say that everyone was very tired after the trip, but the feeling of a small yet successfully completed mission instilled in me the desire to eat and lay down. I heard Vladimir Mikhailovich seriously engaged in yoga, but I was surprised when I realized that the mountains, the backpack and the already noticeable stress and fatigue, all of that were not reasons to give up on the rules of life, among which he had an obligatory 2 hours of yoga every day.
Можем ходить купаться, если есть желание.
Я бы за.
Но тогда нам придется от йоги отказаться.
Не.
Dima, with the nickname Yogi, was not only his friend but also his yoga teacher. However, yoga in nature is a special pleasure, which is why many of us joined. Among them was myself and even one of the porters. Much to my surprise, in half an hour of hatha yoga, everybody was fresh and full of energy, and instead of dinner ready to go further on our road. But no, War is war, but dinner is on the schedule. Nepal cuisine, which is a hybrid of Indian and Chinese, turned out to be very good.
Mix.
Mix.
Сань, супчик мне, да?
Mix.
Да, это гретен, панкейк, может, какой.
Veggie noodle soup.
Я суп лапшу заказывала.
Veggie noodle soup.
The ordered dishes were brought when it was already dark, but the reason isn't that they took a long time to bring them. I was surprised until the last day how quick it gets dark here. And the higher the mountains, the shorter the dusk is. The night just falls into the valley. In the morning, everything appears in a new light. Here are just some quotes from a notebook of our guide Sasha. In the next 2 or 3 days we will climb the mountains amongst the green trees and the sound of streams. Tomorrow we will see the mountains which are popping up the sky. It's a big pleasure to go on a road with nice views. The local people, the local buildings and animals look amazingly colorful. We passed the whole day observing the local nature, people and their style of life. One paradox is striking. In the shadow of the mountains, in a valley with streams and waterfalls, people are living. Life here is hard work, very hard, every day, monotone. Sometimes it seems like invisible work. And it's obvious that the Western person, especially looking from his own country, most likely would consider locals as unhappy people who have to fight for life. And he would be wrong. People here are shining from inside. Kids joyfully playing in the dust and laughing. It seems like they know something special. It attracts attention that all people here are very smiley. All of them have such sincere smiles. I can ask, can I have a photo? And they answer no, and smile with straight, shining eyes. Very cool. People are close to nature, it's amazing. We changed our road to pass by some hot streams, which by the way are very numerous here. Imagine in the river by the coast, hot water just gushes. Around it they build a concrete bath and voila, it's a spa. The traveler walking by with a big backpack can't dream of anything better. The water is very hot. You can be so relaxed that you wouldn't want to go further. That's why we didn't sit there for long and soon continued on our journey. In such places, health and well-being arise on their own, and you don't need to do anything special. The air, sun, water, physical activity, and scenery do it by themselves. In general, it can be considered to be a criterion of a good trip. All of us came to this conclusion. So, if one of your friends is coming back home from a vacation and complaining about their health, that means they did something differently.
I'd like to repeat once again that it's very good from a health point of view. The health. So disease is money. Everybody knows it. Surgeries are big money and so on. It's better not to bring it to that. Prevention. You can resolve it, as I said, in a different way, by using the gym. But they're incomparable. A gym and what we're seeing here. In a gym, you look, stare at the wall and pedal. What's happening to your body in that stuffy hall? It's an open question. And in terms of solving financial issues, at least for me, I got new business ideas after traveling. That's why traveling is financially beneficial. Eventually, you can travel not only to the Himalayas. I travel throughout Russia. From St. Petersburg, I take a tent with me and regularly go to Ladoga and live there for a week in a tent. And there, I don't even eat anything or drink. It's a very economical option. It doesn't seem attractive for everyone to take the tent and go, but I assure you it's very good for your health and finance. Try it once. See how it works. After all, it's always necessary to check everything for yourself.
6.5 hours in total we used for our day plan, and we stopped in the village of Chamje for dinner and lodging.
Но на второй еще не набегаешься.
Today not all of us had the remaining power for yoga, but Yogi Dima, Vladimir Mikhailovich, and one more Dima with the nickname Vorkuta, he's from this town, were adamant. There was the rule: dinner is dinner, but yoga is on the schedule. However, to finish the Shavasana practice was impossible. Local kids watched them first for a long time and then decided to join and repeat everything after the sensei, but in their own way. It was not clear whether to be angry with them or to be moved by their spontaneity. But the real yogi must be able to practice in all conditions. For dinner, most of us ordered the traditional Indo-Nepal dish on which the whole country relies. It is thali, which is a rice with the bad soup sauce and lots of small bowls. I don't remember with what. Besides the fact that it must be eaten with hands, its great feature is that it will bring you extra portions until the point where you're completely full. And men, after a short period of time getting used to this food, fall into trance and start to hallucinate about thali. Here is another confirmation on the fact that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach in all corners of the world. It's amazing. I like it very much. They asked me if I'm eating thali for the first time, like an initiation.
Слушай, ну она заценила 100%, потому что никто из туристов не ест долбать руками.
Да?
Нет, тут не пальцы, конечно.
Короче, жди, тебе дадут гражданство.
How are things going?
Everything is great. I cannot describe it into words. Right now we're having dinner and we're all so much hungry. But it takes so long to get the food. First they cook it especially for you and then they keep it on some kind of an altar and only after that they bring it to you. I didn't get yet what is it for.
Oh, my friend. That sounds like something special. That is prashadam.
What is that?
I've read about it. Hold on for a second. I'll find it. Here it is. Listen. I'll read it for you. It is very auspicious to eat at home when the food is cooked with love and desire. The best cook is a mother. The same way as the artists convey their mood by means of paints and musicians with the help of sound, cooks are doing this with the help of their spices and fire. At first, the food affects our mind, and then it affects the outside in the form of our actions and character. This is karma. In Christianity, they pray before taking the food, and in the Himalayas, they offer the food on the altar, and after that, the food becomes prashadam, a divine gift. By taking prashadam, a person can get rid of their past sinful actions. Prashadam nourishes the body with spiritual energy. And therefore, a person that takes food offered to God gets rid of all of their sins and can progress on the spiritual path. It is so powerful that someone who eats prashad just once could have the possibility to break out of the cycle of birth and death. And a sinner can progress on the spiritual path, even possibly becoming a saint, just by eating prashad. In the Vedic scriptures, there are stories about people whose lives were totally changed because they tried prashad.
Everybody was calm and reserved. But it was easy to tell that emotions from what we saw, the new and the unknown, overwhelmed everyone. Moreover, we came inside the resort only yesterday, and you could say that we hadn't seen much so far. However, in these 2 days we climbed to a height 2.5 times of the Eiffel Tower. But Sasha, our guide, said that tomorrow everything will completely change.
Sundarati,